So this is a quick walkthrough of the simple modifications I've made to make the COVID Ranger faster to build. First, I just took a piece of cardboard and traced out both the main cut line, and then for the liner I made it a little bit smaller just to give me enough room to make a tunnel to run my string. So I've got my liner fabric, my main fabric. We're going to start with the machine with a standard straight stitch, and with right sides facing we're just going to stitch the front of the face area. And we'll do that on both the liner and the main mask. Next, on both the liner and the main mask, we're just going to fold over once and then twice on the liner and just make a small seam on each side. On the main piece of the mask, I'm just going to slightly fold up in just once, because we're going to tuck it over again and tack it down a second time later in the mask. And we'll just straight stitch that down. Do that on both sides. For this next step, we're going to switch the machine to a zigzag stitch, and I'm going to move my stitch length down to about a 1.5, and I've got my width set all the way to the longest. The next step is that we're going to have the mask with right sides facing, and we are going to line up these seams. Then, starting at the top, or at the end of the main mask, the outer part of the mask, I'm just going to start zigzag stitching. We're going to do that on the bottom as well. Line up your mask. Start from all the way on the edge. Oops. Just tuck that down. I'm going to take a quick second to trim my overage here. Depending on the stretch of your fabric, you may or may not have any overage, but this canvas is a little bit stiffer than my main fabric, so sometimes I get a little bit different sizes. I'm going to flip it right side out. The next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to switch my machine back to a straight stitch. Then I'm just going to fold this zigzag down a little bit and I'm gonna top stitch all the way across the top. Get back to where I'm just at the front part of the mask, I just fold that zigzag down and just tack it right down. Then I'm gonna flip it over and do the same thing on the bottom. Oops. Lost my thread. When I get to the part where the mask parts meet up, I just kind of take a moment and pull it tight so that I get a nice tight top stitch. You could press it open, but truthfully, I'm trying to keep this as quick as possible. And we just fold this back down and tack in the zigzag stitch. Then for making the tunnels for where we're going to put our rope or paracord or elastics or whatever you want, you just fold that over. Both sides. Done it again with the thread. Bear with me, guys. And then the final step, so a standard COVID Ranger has a little extra piece of fabric right here to hold a wire nose piece. Most of our requests have been for no nose piece. But if you just make a stitch about 1/2 inch from your top stitch, from about 2.5 to 3 inches on either side of the center line, so what that does is it creates a little channel where you could insert a wire or a piece of a pipe cleaner or anything like that to give it some rigidity in the nose. And once you snip up all your lines, that is a completed cover mask.